When you were in the room, were there gasps at some point? Did the Israeli team seem to expect this? Where are we just sort of in how stunned inside the room was?
On a scale of 1 to 10, about as close to a 10 as it could get, Leland. I mean, there has been such a building of anticipation throughout the day as to what exactly would come out of these meetings here, particularly after you heard the president's comments about the Gaza Strip and potentially moving Palestinians out when it came to the rebuilding process. After that moment there, the anticipation was raised, but then to hear the possibility of the United States taking over Gaza, and then when asked directly, could that mean U.S. military involvement? And the door wasn't necessarily shut on that. When the president was asked about it point blank, there were a lot of things that were said here that, frankly, a lot of people didn't even know were potentially on the table. But it is certainly a new basket of perspectives here when it comes to the landscape of the Middle East. But the president has remained clear in wanting to pick up where he left off in his last administration when it came to expanding normalization, talking about Saudi Arabia, talking about the expansions of diplomatic recognition of Israel. It's an ambitious plan, to say the least. And as you pointed out, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu making very clear that he was very all in on everything that the president said here today. Leland?
And Robert, your perspective on this is so important. And for our viewers who remember and those who don't or new to NewsNation, Robert Sherman was on the ground in Israel reporting for the better part of the year, maybe in the past 14 months after the October 7th attacks. And boy, has there been a change in the relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu versus President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Real quick, Robert, just in terms of body language, because you watched Netanyahu through his time with President Biden and the frostiness of that relationship. I've really never heard Prime Minister Netanyahu be as, I'm trying to think of the right word, but as complimentary, perhaps, and short of saying that Donald Trump was the second coming of the Messiah, I think, or the coming of the Messiah, I think this is to say that Benjamin Netanyahu feels as though he is now protected by the United States.
I think that's a very astute observation, Leland, because you would watch Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Biden interacting with one another, and you could see both were picking their words very carefully, diplomatically. Here, it was a very open Benjamin Netanyahu, unlike that we've seen before. He seemed very relaxed up here, as if he was standing next to a close friend. And as you pointed out, maybe has a certain degree of protection here. I mean, something to look forward to the future. The Prime Minister has made clear that Hamas cannot control the Gaza Strip. That is their perspective. And they have left the door open to continue the war, to end it on their terms here. I mean, it is certainly a different series of conversations that we heard when compared to conversations being had with the previous president, President Biden, just a couple of weeks ago. Leland?
Right. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.